Hi everyone, hope you're doing well today. Looking forward to our session. So let's do the chanting straight away. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from their happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayata gati gati para sumgati bodhisattva. Tayata gati gati para sumgati bodhisattva. Tayata gati para sumgati bodhisattva. So now get yourself comfortable for some meditation practice. As per usual, we will release the tension in the body. So bring your focus to releasing whatever tension you have in your body as you scan the body from the tips of the toes all the way up your legs, up to your shoulders, down to the tips of your fingers, and then back up to the top of your head. So let's take a few moments to do this now. And now scan your body once more to see if there's any leftover tension that you're able to release. And now bring your mind initially to the tip of your nose. And as per usual, we will practice anapanasati, mindfulness of the breath. So place your mind on the feeling of the breath as you breathe in your nose, all the way into your lungs, and then back out your nose again. Focusing on the breath as you breathe in and breathe out. Try your best to keep your mind placed seamlessly on the breath as much as possible. You can also add the extra technique of counting the breaths from 1 to 10. 1 in breath and 1 out breath is 1, and so on. But if you get distracted while you're counting the breaths towards 10, go back to 1 at that time. And while we're engaging in this practice, if any mental agitation or activities arise, such as thoughts, feelings, and so on, don't cling to them. Don't grasp at them. Also, don't try to force them away or deny them, but simply let them go naturally by replacing the mind back onto the breath. This is the process. Placing the mind back onto the breath when we become distracted. And also, if your mind starts to become a little bit dull or sleepy, then replace your mind onto your breath more brightly. Breathing in, breathing out. Physically, all you have to do right now is keep a nice, comfortable, upright posture if possible, and breathe. And mentally, place your mind onto your breath. So let's practice like this for a little bit in silence. So now we can feel very pleased with ourselves for engaging in this short session, short breath meditation session, and fill ourselves with universal loving kindness. We can utilize the visualization technique of filling ourselves full to the brim with white light or white nectar, or you can just go with the feeling of loving kindness. Filling yourself with this friendship, acceptance, forgiveness, goodwill, love and compassion. Feel yourself with so much loving kindness that it now overflows and radiates outwards, initially to your loved ones, family and friends, and fills them with the universal loving kindness too. May they be happy. May they be free from suffering, and may they be peaceful. And now also radiate to strangers, those people that you're indifferent towards, whether you know them or not. And fill them with the universal loving kindness too. May they also be happy, free from suffering, and to be peaceful. Radiate further and further to now also include those you may regard as enemies. Fill them with the universal loving kindness as well. May they also be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. So now let's start to radiate the loving kindness out further and further distance-wise to all living beings, initially around our immediate area, all of the living beings that live on the land and even under the land, live in the waters, salt waters, fresh waters, fly through the air. All living beings born from wombs, from eggs, from moisture, through transformation. May they all be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. All sentient beings, whether weak or strong, great or small, short or tall, seen or unseen, near or distant, born or to be born. May they all be happy. So now let's radiate this loving kindness out throughout our whole state or county to all of the living beings that live here. Whether you know about them or not. This loving kindness that is generated in your own mind or your own heart, now radiating outwards to all these living beings, innumerable beings. Now throughout other states and counties throughout your whole country. And other countries throughout the whole world. Initially, those that you're actually familiar with and have an affinity towards, as well as those that you're indifferent towards, and even to those that you may have some sort of negative feelings towards. Have your loving kindness pervade throughout all of the countries in this world, and now also throughout all of the oceans and different types of waterways, to all of the living beings that live in this world. Have your loving kindness pervade to the core of the earth and to the outermost atmosphere. Have the loving kindness pervade throughout the whole solar system, to all of the worlds in this solar system, wherever there is life, or the possibility of life. And now throughout all of the solar systems, throughout the galaxy, and all of the galaxies throughout the universe, until your loving kindness pervades throughout infinite space. Infinite loving kindness, immeasurable loving kindness. So now we will switch techniques to work on our compassion. Of course, ultimately, loving kindness and compassion are not separate, and even not separate from wisdom, or equanimity and wisdom. But we have to work on different aspects of the Dharma separately to improve the different types of aspects, and then marry them all together, which will happen naturally as we practice correctly and consistently. So now we will practice what is known in Tibetan as Tonglen, or giving and taking meditation. And we will utilize the technique of inhaling and exhaling. So as we inhale all of the suffering of others, whilst at the same time destroying our ego, or melting away our ego and our self-centeredness. So visualize, or at least just imagine, innumerable living beings, all sentient beings in front of you. And as you breathe in, from their heart center comes black smoke, and it enters into your heart center and melts away, as I said, your ego and self-centeredness, at the same time freeing them from their sufferings. As you exhale, visualize white light leaving your heart center with all of your goodness and merit and good karma, everything that you find pleasing, all of your happiness and so on, and the white light enters into the heart centers of all sentient beings in front of you, helping them to be happy, at the same time freeing yourself from attachment and even aversion. So let's practice like this in silence for a little bit. Breathing in, take the suffering from others. Breathing out, give all of your happiness to them. So I encourage you as well, just to note that when you practice these meditations yourself, whether you do them as a group or in a group like we do it during these classes, or whether you do them separately, just do them for longer, just a little bit longer at least. Okay, so that you give yourself more of the opportunity of training your mind in a good way like this. So once again, we can feel pleased with ourselves. And let's do the dedication prayer before the Dharma talk. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhicitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of Shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And so, as you know, we are having commentary on verse number 4 of the 8 verses of thought transformation. At present, this will be part 3 of the commentary on verse number 4. And just to remind you that I think verse number 1, we had 7 parts to it. I think verse number 2 was about 5 parts. Then I think verse number 3 was 2 parts. This is 3 parts here. We will definitely finish this today. And then next week, 1 part for verse number 5 and 1 part for verse number 6 the following week. And then we're on to verse number 7, where there'll be numerous parts. Same with verse number 8. But yeah, verse number 5 and 6, I thought we've already spoken about them a lot, either throughout the commentary during the other verses or in the overviews. Okay, so I just thought I'd mention that again. So anyway, verse number 4. Whenever I meet a person of bad nature who is overwhelmed by negative energy and intense suffering, I will hold such a rare one dear, as if I have found a precious treasure. So as mentioned, I spoke about this last week and the week before. And just to reiterate how we came to close the class last week, just before that I said, and digressed slightly, we should give to the needy. So give whatever is needed if you're able to whoever needs it. If somebody needs food and you have it, give some food. If somebody needs a smile because they look very sad and you have a smile, give you a smile. If they look very scared, help them to give up these fears, these hopes and fears. Okay, and also if you think that they're right to hear the Dharma and you understand certain aspects of the Dharma very clearly, then you can explain the Dharma to them, whether or not they are Buddhist, because the Dharma is speaking on the relative truth level, how to train the mind, purify the mind, how to free ourselves from suffering, how to realize happiness along the way. And this may be very helpful for anybody, actually. So give that as well. And also care for the elderly, or the elders, I should say. Sounds much more respectful there. We should always have respect for the elders, as well as care for them as they age. It's very important. If we don't make the causes, actually, of course, a lot of us here are starting to get older already, right? But in fact, everybody's getting older already. But if we don't plant the causes of being looked after by looking after others, then how do you expect to be looked after? Of course, in a society like Australia and in Britain, you have pretty good medical sort of setup. And things like pensions and so on. And so we already have created the causes to be looked after to a certain degree, as we age. But we should engage in more. And if we are elderly right now, or elder right now, then you can help your fellow elders and put into practice what I'm about to mention now, even if it's just through words or vibes, is to nurture the young, to nurture and teach the young. Pass on our knowledge to the young, if at all possible. And also I added an extra one here, and that is to be kind to the nasty. Doesn't mean you go out there, be sort of like a doorstop or a doormat, I should say, get walked over metaphorically. But actually, if we are kind, this is strength of mind, rather than giving into the nastiness that other people may be exuding or behaving in a nasty way. So I just wanted to reiterate that it's really important that we put these into practice, So where I finished off last week, it said, we should often deal with these difficult people that have, sort of overwhelming negativities and things like that. Bad karma, results of bad karma. Just like the verse says, whenever I meet a person who is overcome by negativities and sort of really down and out or very aggressive even, I will hold such a rare one dear, as if I have found a precious treasure. Okay, so if at all possible, if not, if you don't feel that you can deal with these people or certain types of people, then you don't have to. Just with your mind. Remember, this is mind training, mind transformation. With your mind, have good feelings for them, sort of wish them the best like that. But if at all possible, to have some conversation or some physical sort of face-to-face, if possible, or telephone, even things like that, then we should often deal with them. It's the opposite way to how they are normally dealt with, isn't it? This, like I said last week, may be something that will make them realize, this is different. Normally people don't like to hang out with me, or I hang out with the same types of people that are like me. Now there's somebody else there. They seem very nice, very kind. Then now they're talking to me. Oh, wow, maybe I can learn something from them. Or at very least, you'll be planting some really good seeds in their mind. Okay. Sometimes, and this can relate to many different aspects of the Dharma path and life itself. Sometimes you have to go against the winds of the norm. If the norm is to be nasty, the normal way is to be nasty. You have to go against that and not be nasty. If the normal way of this world works is through greed and miserliness and self-centeredness, things like that, then we work to go against this wind, and not be blown around by the winds of change, but also the winds of pleasure and pain, gain and loss, fame and shame, and praise and blame, the 8 worldly winds, okay, that we'll speak about in depth, actually, when I give the commentary on the 8th verse, which actually mentions those 8 worldly winds. And if you look at it from a point of view of what you do for work, or whether work being, like paid work, your career or job, or even voluntary work, where you volunteer maybe for some charities or something like that, Red Cross or something like that. So in your activities, in other words, in your way of living, right livelihood, in other words, that's in the Eightfold Path. So the right way of living, if at all possible, then you should engage in this type of work, once again, whether paid work, career, or whether volunteering, I think that's the word, sorry, volunteering, I'm just making up a word. And so anyway, whether you're volunteering or whether it's actually paid work, try to do stuff that is really beneficial for others. And even if your work's kind of on the fence there, you actually do it with good intentions and be of benefit to others whenever you can. For instance, I'll give you an example, music. Yeah, music can be helpful, or music can be irritating, or music can actually leave, if it's really aggressive lyrics and things, maybe leave a negative imprint on living beings' minds, So if we engage in music, we're kind of on the fence there, but if you do it with good intention, and both from the point of view of what you perform or what you write, or what you teach, then this is, and with good intentions, then it becomes a good thing. So the intention is really important, but also put your skills into practice and sort of like shine loving kindness towards others in whatever you do. So, things like humanitarian work, working to especially put into practice, and this is the reason why I mentioned again those things of, give to the needy, care for the elderly, nurture and teach the young, be kind to the nasty. Whatever work we do, we should really look to relieve the suffering of others and then bring some sort of relief, some sort of happiness. And caring type of professions, really, when you think about it, it's like, obviously nursing is a caring profession, but anything can be caring as long as you do it with good intention, and it's harmless, okay? Example is charities. I mentioned prisons and hospitals, for a short period of time. I was kind of on call as a hospital chaplain. I didn't do it regularly, but I probably only ever maybe 20 times or maybe 10 times, say, in Australia, but in America, there was that. But also I used to visit a lot of aged care facilities, rehab centers, and so on. Okay. In fact, that was a weekly thing. But I'm not big noting myself for doing that, but just sharing with you some personal experience. Obviously, prisons, this is somewhere where the people are suffering a lot, and are also sort of shunned by society. So they need a lot of help as well. Okay. Once again, I remind you, this is mind training. But when we engage in these types of things physically, as well as verbally, and then it's actually very helpful for our mind. Yeah. So I'd like to mention here, and this is something I wasn't going to mention until I thought about it last week, Dharma centers and Buddhist temples, okay? But sort of one and the same thing, or monasteries, whatever you call, okay? So the main purpose of a Dharma center, temple or monastery, is to provide a place to study and practice and share the Dharma, the Buddha's teachings, the ultimate medicine, isn't it, for the mind? So this is the main purpose of these places. But I also would say and encourage all Dharma centers, if at all possible, if you can do it, then should develop some sort of charitable services, as a lot of temples that I know of do, okay? And then try to help society, especially helping those that are downtrodden and suffering a lot, okay? So the Dharma Center's main purpose is giving teachings and meditation instructions, providing a place to practice, and also a sense of community. But also they should bring the social and caring dimension into their programs of activities and engage in charitable services to the outside communities that are in need. Excuse me. So Buddhist principles can make a meaningful contribution to society. So the Buddhist teachings, whether, obviously we're sharing them with the outside world, the people that are Buddhist or groups that are Buddhist or not, the Buddhist principles can help every single living being, and even animals, insects, and so on and so forth, okay? So we should share them outwardly. Of course, we have to spend a fair bit of time to practice internally as well, utilizing our outward practice as well, to be able to practice internally, to purify the mind, to really put the teachings into practice on the cushion, okay? Once again, I'll use that example. We practice on the cushion, formal meditation, formal studies, listening to Dharma talks formally. And then also we practice off the cushion. So our practice on the cushion helps our practice off the cushion. But also the practice off the cushion will help your practice on the cushion. So in other words, we should practice in everything we do. Simple little things, getting up in the morning, cleaning your teeth, exercising, eating, going shopping, going for a walk on the beach or in the park. Practice while we are doing these things, okay? So anyway, so these Buddhist temples and whatever, they really should share their knowledge and the Buddhist principles and teachings with the outside world. I'll give you some examples, but I won't mention the names of the specific temples or groups, okay? Because there are numerous that I could mention and many that I don't know about. For example, there was a temple in Melbourne that was doing fundraising for building the main shrine and other buildings throughout the grounds, okay? Anyway, then the tsunami happened years ago in Japan. So all of the money that they actually raised for the buildings was given away to charities in Japan that were helping people that were suffering because of the tsunami and so forth. And so then they had to fundraise again. I thought this was just beautiful Dharma practice, and of course, non-attachment in a sense. Okay, so that was one. There are obviously chaplaincy services, prison, hospital, homeless, and things like this. There are, Buddhist societies and so on, Buddhist Council Victoria and so forth, provide these. And then, of course, you have many people engaging in the chaplaincy services, which I think is just wonderful. Also, I share with you my mother. I'm very proud of my mother. In her work, when she was younger, she worked with, I don't want to be politically incorrect here, but I don't know the modern terms, but it was known back then, the mentally handicapped was the thing back then. So people that had some mental issues, they were not bad, not really bad behavior, but almost like adults, but behaved like little children. And so she worked at a place called Jane Field Training Center in the occupational therapy part, where she was, I think, craft supervisor and so on. Okay. And then after that, when we moved to Phillip Island, she became a welfare officer with other work on top of that as well, looking after the elderly and people in need. Okay, so I'm very proud of Mum. Well done, Mum. And so that's another example. Be a good influence on others. Don't advertise, you could say, about that we're doing good things. You don't have to advertise. But in a sense, if you do advertise, if you do share about the good things you're doing, then maybe it'll encourage others to do so as well. So that's a good one. There are also some places are establishing hospices to help the elderly or the people that are getting close to dying, caring for the sick, establishing hospitals, and even schools for the young. We should help people that are rejected by society, help people feel like they can make a meaningful contribution themselves and actually help themselves to realize their true potential. That's a big point there, okay? So I know we went under 1 minute, maybe almost a minute ago, I think, but I wanted to finish those last few points there, okay? I share with you as well the temples I've been involved with overseas as well as here, help the homeless, feed the homeless, and we should continue to do this type of work, this type of off-the-cushion work. I rejoice in your goodness, as always. Take care mentally and physically. Namo Buddhaya.